Perhaps we're talking about broken, unresponsive controls that don't reply to how you press them. Camera that doesn't follow you properly. Or traversal system that doesn't work properly. It's slow and unresponsive. It's not smooth. And a character that doesn't stop when you want him to stop. Or navigation system that doesn't follow, that's not moving as smoothly as you need it to be. Maybe we're talking about broken assistant AI. Artificial intelligence that doesn't serve well, that doesn't work when you need it to be. Maybe broken enemy AI that doesn't serve what it should do. And the enemy is either too hard or too easy. Way too easy. Or battles that serve nothing, that have no strategy. There is no weakness to exploit, no environment to make use of, nothing in the environment to make use of for the fight, whether it's optional or intentional.
Get out of my way.
You have to do boring fights that serve no purpose, and your attacks barely do anything at all. They don't even push the enemy, or do any damage. Maybe we're talking something like this. A recovery system that doesn't work. You can't find your way back. You can't go back with ease, with smoothness. No way to trick the bosses, for example. Maybe this is something that doesn't work. Well, for a game that has many quick-time events, at least you can assure that buttons are responsive. Commands that respond properly. So that's one good thing about it, right? Everything else I said is pretty much good. I don't see many problems with the game so far. So perhaps this game is not terrible. Right? Right? Of course, the overabundance of QuickTime events is an issue. And there are glitches in the game. Glitches that sometimes force you to restart at certain points. Glitches that can be annoying. But the glitches in this game don't happen as often as the game is reputed to have them. And they don't break the game, force you to stop the game all the time, every time a glitch happens. Sometimes they force you to restart from a certain checkpoint. And you're happy and you're satisfied that you at least have this checkpoint to go with. Sometimes you're forced to shut down the game and you can't, because you can't continue playing it, but you can't finish the stage. But at least you can control the character and do every other function. For navigation, you zoom out of the city. You see a miniature model of the city instead of making a different look for the map, a different drawing for the map. So you don't see the details of cars moving and anything like this. But it's easy to navigate between missions. You can see are available at the time. And when you scroll down, you see activities that are available. Races like bump tours and skydiving. And you see missions, and you see the crime fighting, you see the territories, gang territories, and how much you beat of them. How much control you regained of these territories. Unfortunately, because it's a scaled down city, you don't have a map for the sewers and the subway system. Okay, so the mini-map on the right bottom corner of the screen, it's not good. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not properly made as it was in Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Not even as good as detailed as Web of Shadows. It just shows you how high you are and how high the activity you're nearest to. An approximation is the crime closest to you. So the way you move is you swing. That's what Spider-Man does. He swings. So here it is at slow speed. He's swinging fine. Swinging speed is smooth, it's refined, it's not bad. It functions properly. So no issue here, right? This is slowest speed. And here's Bruce Campbell giving us a tutorial on how the heads up on how to move.
Now if you want to go faster down the street, Try boosting near the bottom of your swing arc. This will propel you forward. If you want to gain a
You can
little bit
swing
of height,
really smooth even
try
without
boosting
using
near
the
the end
jump
of your
or
swing
the
arc.
wall run amidst the swing. You can swing fine upwards. It's not as smooth or as fast as Web of Shadows or even as Ultimate. Properly functional. It's smooth, still smooth enough, still fun enough to play. Of course, you need to attach the web to buildings. Sometimes you reach too high that the web doesn't shoot high enough to attach to the top point of the building. So you need to drop to reach the highest top of the building. Like here in the Empire State Building, it took me less than 50 seconds to reach the top, swinging only. It's funny that with in a game that has double jump feature, you can you see the effect of gravity, the effect of your weight on the web line. You see your Spider-Man's physically affecting the web line and the swinging. Still not as made as properly as Spider-Man 2, but the physics are there. You see his weight, you feel its impact. There's also wall running. Wall running is very good. It's smooth. It's one of the best wall running in games so far. It's faster than running on the ground. Switching between wall running and ground running and swinging is fine. And you have pulse swing also that helps with your speed of navigation, of movement. When you boost your swing. When you boost your pulse swinging speed, it affects the jump height, and leap forward distance. It's fun. It's properly functional and it's fun to use. So I'm not sure why locomotion is considered badly made here. Also, there's swimming. Swimming is one of the best features to be added to this game. The previous two games have the problem of black screen when you fall in water, and it fails with the missions when you least want it to happen. Also, the web zip is done faster here. One button, it's done by quickly tapping the web swing button. Sometimes it doesn't work when you tap because Spider-Man unintentionally starts a web swing line, but most of the time it functions properly. The swing doesn't happen very often. The problem with it is that, unlike the previous two games or Web of Shadows, he doesn't web zip on walls. The combat in here is not problematic. You have the reflex function. It serves to slow down time, and because this time it's on auto, unlike the one done in Spider-Man 2 where you still need to press the dodge button while on slow motion down to actually dodge. This helps on automatically dodge bullets. It's good against machine gun bullets, and it functions well to slow down drills and give you more time to escape area attacks when a boss makes one. These are uncounterable, and then when you need to slow down fallen targets you need to save, it functions very well for that. It saves a lot of time. It causes you to retry less often. And there is the matter of multi-subdue. You can reach your multi-subdue up to 5 enemies at once. When you rotate them, you web radio them. It's a useful function for crowd control. The problem, it doesn't hit much, and sometimes there are few enemies who stay on the ground while Spider-Man rotates. It's odd. Okay, back to crowd control. When you use the slow down function, while you radio, it makes Spider-Man, it makes the enemies carried lifted by Spider-Man attack the other target who's walking more times. So more hits in your favor. The problem with that is that these attacks are very weak and not functional and doesn't do much damage as you want to. On the plus side, the ones you radio do experience more damage. The longer you radio them, the more damage they experience, and you can subdue them on more and more poles, like foot poles or flag poles. You can attach them to more poles at once. This is a fun function, even if the animation to jump and suspend them from poles isn't as smooth as it is in Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Oh, there is also the ability to jump them up. To jump up, pick up an enemy, and then drop them down. This is a funny function, and I love it.
Hey, see that icon? Yeah, the attack button icon that appears when you're
Counter
dodging.
measurement is
That means
sometimes
counter
doesn't
attack.
work. The problem
Yeah.
with tutorial in
Hit
this
the
game,
attack
and
button.
especially in
When you
combat,
hit your opponent
that some
back.
functions don't
By the
work
way,
unless you're told they can work. And I know it's common to believe that combat in this game is more of a button masher than it is anything else, but when you see certain enemies, there are certain attacks that work on them against them best. And some crowd control attacks do serve to recharge the rage mode faster than usual. When you use tactical attacks, they help speed up the time. They help decrease the time you spend on defeating certain enemies.
Okay, psychopathic lizard who was once a man I respect has no qualms about hurting me.
Of course, we have all the villains from the movie. We have Sandman, Venom, Goblin, but we also have a wide array of other characters as well that you know from the comics.
So in-game enemies, we have the grenade launcher users and machine gun users who can dodge your web attacks, and
Yes, the Apocalypse Gang has a max
ketchup
IQ
bottle
test.
tossing idiots, fat cops, fat dirty cops, ninjas, stop sign warrior, Mary Poppins wannabes, Harley Quinn wannabe, acid spitting lizard, Bonsar iguana, Chris Richfield, Cox, bombs you punch, enemies you can ride while flying. Time you spent watching models walk, this flying saucer that you need to photograph. And there are enemies that, unlike Spider-Man 2 where everyone dodges, there are only a few enemies that webs don't work on. Harley Quinn wannabes, fat cops, iguanas, white dragons, sword carrying boy bands. So there's plenty of variety to enemies in this game, and they all have unique movements that make them special, and unique ability, unique skills. In bosses, we have leader of the Max Reject, White Dragon,
Awesome,
girl who wants to
Priscilla.
get married, their
Wilson
Kingpin,
Fisk. What's the Kingpin?
Lizard, Scorpion, Rhino, Craven the Hunter, Luke Carlisle, the guy the game starts with, and lest we forget that this is a movie tie-in, the movie villains, New Goblin, and Venom. The same game has the feature of fighting most bosses twice, except for New Goblin, Rhino, Venom, and Luke Carlisle. Each fight is unique and different. Okay, so, you know, the reputation of button mashing is the best tactic to win against bosses is wrong and it wastes time. It works against Jurassic Lizard, against Rhino, against Scorpion, and against New Goblin most of the time, unless you use the Piddle Paddle combo. This makes the move faster, so you can use it against him in the New Game Plus and the Symbiote Spider-Man mode. But you need to know the tactics to finish the fight faster against each boss. Most bosses battles end in 2 minutes or 3 minutes if you use proper tactics. So this is when things start to get really awkward. Look at the art style for Peter and the animation for J. Jonah Jameson in this cutscene. And during gameplay you see sometimes the wall crawling animation is janky, it's incomplete. and there's a choppy frame rate while Spider-Man is fighting. It's worse than the PS3 version. And this cutscene, and this cutscene.
Guys don't sell papers.
This. Some models like Luke Carlisle and Scorpion look really good compared to the rest anyway. Compared to the rest of the models. They have really good effort. They have some effort put on them, on their art and their animation. Some models like Dylan Baker and James Franco look decent for what they are for this game standards. And of course you have everyone's favorite cutscene.
Help! Please! Someone!
Fasten your seatbelt.
It speaks
It's gonna
for
be a bumpy
itself.
ride.
While the overall animation during the gameplay is not bad, it's pretty good most of the time when the frame rate is not choppy. There are noticeable flaws. Compare that to Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate. Especially Spider-Man 2 since it's a movie game tie-in like this one. Frame rate in that one is consistent. Frame rate in this one is consistent. Camera does have its moments of being janky and sometimes it shakes too hard. But if your back is against the wall and the model of Spider-Man disappears, that's something that's common with so many games. I don't know why this complaint is focused for, especially in this game. While everyone else, while people ignore it in every other game that has it. When it comes to upgrades, there are certain upgrades that are stitched to certain missions, and upgrades that are available no matter what mission you take. You just earn them in specific order. To do a mission first, you can strategically arrange when an upgrade you need, you earn for the stage you need it for. The problem is this comes cryptically. You need a guide for it. And that should be a video on its own. When you look at the map, you will notice the outline of the area you play in is Manhattan, so you're playing in New York. But when you swing around, you see more of the map, you'll notice some buildings are missing, like landmarks like Madison Square Garden. This is one of the main examples of things that were present in Spider-Man 2, but are not present here. Maybe it's because of licensing issues. Looks like there is something about licensing that allows games to use the look of the building in them. So, for some reason, games like Prototype have the Chrysler Building, and Spider-Man 2 has Madison Square Garden, but Spider-Man 3 has neither one of those. Okay, this is one thing. One of the things that you see in other games is that Manhattan has railings, subway railings, train tracks, with trains moving upwards and on the street, over the street. That may have been true since the 90s. There are no trains moving in this game above street level. When you talk about sound design, there are three things to take into consideration: music, voice acting, and sound effect. Sound effects are fine, nothing distracting, nothing worth complaining about. Music is amazing. It's varied. Whoever says it's an afterthought is unfair to the music, unfair to the composer, Tobias Enos. The music is great. It's layered, it's amazing, it's atmospheric, it fits every level, and it's great to listen to. It's some of the best music in Spider-Man games. Not the best, some of the best. Voice acting is fine. I mean, I don't think it's terrible. It's tolerable, nothing as bad as voice acting in Resident Evil. What's the name of the game? Survivor. Nothing that bad. It's just serviceable. Even Josh Keaton doesn't deliver great lines. His delivery is fine, nothing memorable. But I don't feel them like they're sleepwalking while talking, most of the time anyway. One thing that escapes most reviewers when they talk about this game is that after 2 games that give you prerequisite, collect hero points, finish races, or do that to be able to continue the story, Spider-Man 3 drops that. It does the favor of dropping that. And it's a wonderful thing. I wonder why people don't give much thought to it. When you think of the story, it's an afterthought. It feels like the movie missions are an afterthought. They're here for just, do the mission. They were on the movie. Go watch the movie to see it. Sandman falling in a science experiment, and it makes him Sandman. He's not named. He's just Sandman. James Franco is there to fight. You don't go see Venom. Well, at least you see Eddie Brock here, but no reason for him to get fired. He didn't get fired. You don't see much reason for him or get that angry at Spider-Man that he becomes Venom, goes to the church and unites with the symbiote. It's just an afterthought. There's more effort on the other plots, especially Scorpion and Mad Bomber and Kingpin missions, the gang missions that are focused on in the intro. But they aren't great. Still seem unfinished. There's something missing in them. But I'm not much of a story person in video games, so I prefer to skip cutscenes anyway. So that's just me. Street missions aren't varied in this game, so I don't know why they have less variety. It's either just stop gangsters from vandalizing, stop gangster from hurting people or stealing, or stop gangs from fighting each other, or stop speeding cars, stop a gang car. And when you stop a speeding car, the driver comes out, the reckless driver comes out, and there's not much emotion. You don't see him mad, you don't see the driver sad because their car is broken like an Ultimate Spider-Man and falling down on their knees. When you punch in the city, you don't see them, you don't see the populace running away, scared. The city is pretty lacking. And I think it's because the game is unfinished. The game was too ambitious and they weren't allowed to complete it in time, or they didn't have enough time to finish everything. When you watch developer videos, you see some things are missing. Some things are missing from the game. In the plan, missing from the game. So I expect they weren't allowed to finish. They were more ambitious and not ready for the transfer from 6th generation to 7th generation of video games consoles.